Hello again. This is your friend David Mills, again talking to you from Huntington, West Virginia. During the past 6 weeks, I have experienced two huge surprises in my life. One of them very bad, the other very good. The bad surprise, if you saw my last video, is that I was quite unexpectedly diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer which has already spread to my spinal column. The cancer has wrapped itself around my spinal column in a spiral like a snake. MRI also showed that the cancer had spread to the bones of my pelvis. And the cancer is very likely elsewhere as well, but once they discovered it in the bones and in my spinal cord, I said, no more. I get the message. So I was then turned over to Hospice, which is an absolutely wonderful organization. I'm currently under hospice care here in my own home. Now, in a minute, I want to tell you more about my condition and particularly address a lot of the comments, the wonderful comments that you left for me. But the first thing I want to do is to address a troubling aspect of some of the messages I received regarding hospice. Several messages said to me that, they were glad I was receiving such good care, and they had heard what a wonderful organization hospice is and how much it helps people, but they were afraid that they could not afford such care when they get to that age or when they are diagnosed with a terminal illness. And what I want to communicate here, and this is very important, is that hospice is paid for by Medicare. It costs you nothing. The medications I take here cost me nothing. The supplies I need cost me nothing. Now you say, well, I'm not old enough for Medicare. Well, then Medicaid in most states, those who haven't refused the subsidies that were enabled by the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid will pay for hospice. If you're in a state that doesn't support Medicaid for lower income individuals, hospice is a charitable organization that is funded in large part or partially by donations. So you will not be left out in the cold. Don't think that because you don't have premium health insurance or you don't have any money that you're going to die a painful death without any care or without any pain meds. That is not going to happen. Hospice is a wonderful organization. I told one of the hospice nurses, even though I'm not a religious person, I said, if I had the phone number to the Pope, I would call him and nominate you for sainthood. I absolutely would. That's what I think of hospice. So people confuse hospice with long-term care. Now let me explain the difference because they sound so similar, but they're not. Let's say that I had been in a car accident and I was paralyzed. I was in a wheelchair, couldn't move, but I was not expected to die from these injuries. I might live another 10 or 40 or 50 years. I would not be in hospice, which requires you to have a death prognosis within about 6 months. But let's say you're in the wheelchair, you're not expected to die, you need long-term care. Hospice does not pay for that. And that is very expensive unless you have long-term care insurance, which most people do not have, and it is very expensive. It will bankrupt you. And the long-term care you get will depend on your income. Bill Gates will get much better long-term care than I would, or that you would. However, that is completely apart from hospice. If you are expected to die in the next 6 months, then your care will be free, your medications will be free, you will get the most wonderful attention, and you will not die bankrupt or in pain. So just wanted to clear that up, the difference between long-term care, and if you can afford that insurance, that would be a great thing, but most people can't. Don't confuse that with hospice. A lot of people wrote to me saying that my reaction to my finding out I'm terminally ill was quite surprisingly positive, and they wanted an explanation for that. Well, I'm not happy that I'm dying, obviously. I'm not insane, but I have taken this very well, with one exception. One moment I had that I kind of lost it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I think I've handled it very well, and I think I've figured out why. And it's not because I'm so courageous. No. If a hairy spider would crawl by, or a rat would run by while I'm making this video, I would knock all of you women out of the way and be the first one running out the door screaming for help. So I was never in the military. I never did anything heroic. So I'm not at all what you would call a courageous man. I wish I were. But I think the reason I've taken this so well is, this sounds odd, but this is the truth. I always ate a diet that was horrible. I mean, I would sometimes have 3 meals a day where I ate Pop-Tarts. And I could not have eaten a worse diet. So I remember on my 40th birthday, which was 27 years ago, I remember thinking, well, geez, I'm 40. I'm kind of old enough to die of a heart attack now. People in their 40s do die of a heart attack, and I've eaten such horrible food my whole life. So I kind of expected to die just about any time. Now, not in a morbid way. I didn't wake up thinking, oh God, I'm going to die today. But I did wake up thinking, I better make the most of this day. A good lesson, right? I better make the most of this day. And on my 40th birthday, if I would have known I would live to be 67, I would never have believed that. I said, that's not possible. And so I think one of the reasons I've taken this death sentence, which is what it is, the reason I've taken that so well, for the most part, is that I never expected to live this long to begin with. I anticipated I would be dead long ago. So every day that I have, like today, I feel pretty good, is something I'm very, very grateful for. Let me update my medical condition a little bit before I get into the heart of this video, which is the comments that you left. I'm not in any pain at all. I have prostate cancer, which is quite severe, but for reasons I can't explain, I haven't had any symptoms so far. My urine stream is completely uninterrupted. It's not painful. My sexual function, I don't have a partner, but you men can understand that you don't need a partner to know if you're functioning. Use your imagination. So I haven't had any symptoms there. For a while I had back problems, but I'm not sure that was from the cancer. And if you saw my last video, I talked about how I stupidly tripped over my own feet while I was emptying the garbage and hurt my leg pretty bad. That slowed me down for about a month, but that's gone now. So even though I've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, I feel better now than I've felt in a long time. And, I told the hospice nurse I almost feel guilty that she's visiting every week to check up on me because, believe me, they see a lot of tragedy. Children dying of leukemia and other diseases, and you really have to be a special person to be a hospice nurse. You have to be both empathetic, sympathetic, and tough as nails at the same time. So my hat is off to hospice. I want to thank everyone for the well wishes in the comments. The YouTube video has gotten about 450,000 views, even though I just sent it to 6 people. I don't know how this happens. TikTok, I didn't even upload it to TikTok. I don't even have an account on TikTok. Somebody copied it up there. Thank you very much, whoever you were. And it's gotten 2.1 million views. Now, I've read very few of the comments on TikTok, but I've read almost all the comments on YouTube. And as of now, they number about 10,000 just on YouTube. The overwhelming majority of the comments were supportive, wishing me luck. And many of you told me about your own terminal illnesses. And I had quite a number of people who said that they had been diagnosed with the same illness, prostate cancer that had spread to the spinal cord. And then they added, and this was 12 years ago. Oh, really? Wow. And I got 2 or 3 others that they had the same diagnosis and they were alive years and years and years later. And I thought, well, maybe this won't be so bad after all. But then I got to thinking, well, the people who died off in a couple of months after their diagnosis, they're not writing me comments. So I'm just hearing from the survivors. It's kind of like evolution by natural selection. In the YouTube comment section, you just hear from the success stories. You don't hear from the failures. But the overwhelming majority of the comments were just wonderful. I got a lot of comments from religious people. And again, 99% of them were wonderful comments. And I'm an atheist. I had a best-selling book called Atheist Universe, which was published about 20 years ago. But got a lot of comments from religious people who said they were praying for me. And I appreciate that. I got a few emails from atheists saying, oh, you ought to delete those religious comments. But I didn't, and I'm not going to, because to the people who posted them, that they were praying for me, they had wonderful intentions. They wanted me to improve. They wished me nothing but good luck. They were not in any way hateful. So I accepted those comments with the same gratitude that I accepted the other comments from people who wished me well. I did get a few comments, quoting scripture and things like that. But again, the people almost universally had a good heart, had good intentions. And that's what really counts. One comment, or a couple of comments I got, I want to address. I got a few comments saying, well, there are no atheists in foxholes. Meaning that when we face death, we suddenly become religious. Well, I will tell you for several reasons that that is not true. First of all, I myself am in a foxhole right now. People in foxholes have a good chance of surviving the battle and living. I have no chance of surviving what I have. So I'm in a foxhole, and I'm an atheist. When my book was in all the bookstores and was widely distributed, I got a lot of email from servicemen and servicewomen in the armed forces who said, I'm an atheist and I'm in a foxhole, and I just want you to know that there are atheists in foxholes. In fact, there used to be, and maybe still is, an official organization of the military that's called Atheists in Foxholes. So, people project how they think they're going to react to something. Like I always thought if I were told I was terminally ill, I thought I'd fall apart and the rest of my life would be spent crying, which has not happened at all. I want to mention the one time that I did cry. In our area, we had about a 3-week period where it snowed and ice glazed over the snow, and it was very treacherous on my property to get out of the house to get to the car. And remember, my pelvis is practically nothing but cancer. So if I fell down and broke my hip, they're not going to operate on that. There's nothing there to attach the new hip to. So if I fell down, I would be in a wheelchair or bedfast the rest of my life. So I wanted to get out. I almost had to get out for a certain reason. And my daughter came, and her mom came, my first wife, Sophia's mother. They both came to help me, to pick me up by the shoulders and lead me to the car in a safe way. And while they were doing that, I got very verklempt, very emotional, because, they say your whole life flashes in front of you if you're drowning. Well, my whole life flashed in front of me at that moment as they were carrying me across the icy sidewalk safely. I thought, well, there's my daughter, and she's 30 years old. She's not a little kid anymore. But I thought, I'm supposed to be helping you. That's my job. I'm supposed to be helping you. And here you are helping me. And her mom, again, I'm supposed to be protecting you and helping you. And you came all this way to help me. And that I cried that because it marked a transition in my life. And, as my condition deteriorates, I'm going to need more and more help. And I think that's what I fear most. I mean, I think I will have the help from hospice and from others, but that's, I'm so used to doing things on my own and being independent that was a hard transition for me to make. So every day my main thought is, don't fall down, don't fall down, don't fall down. That's what I think of the most, because if I do, that's would put me in a position that they can't operate on, and I really would be out of commission there. But every day, since I have limited time, which, by the way, the prognosis is anywhere from about 6 months to about 2 years. Might be shorter than that, might be longer than that. I heard from a lot of people that were diagnosed with what I have, and they're alive a decade later. So we can just hope. But every day I think, well, what should I be doing with my time. I'm retired. I live here by myself, and I can still get out and drive, and I'm not in any pain right now. And so I'm particularly sensitive to this. What would I like to do today? What could I do to make myself happy or to help somebody else? And I keep getting ideas. Last week I kept thinking, well, I'll go on a cruise. I'll go on a cruise. I've been on one cruise, which I really enjoyed once you're on the ship, but then I get to thinking, well, you have to fly somewhere, and that's a pain in the ass. Then you'd have to get from the airport to the hotel, then the hotel to the dock, and oh my God. And by the time I think a little bit more about it, I think, well, what do I want to do? I think I'll sit here and watch TV or play with Microsoft Flight Simulator a bit. That's not a lot of people's idea of a good time, but it's my idea of a good time. But, and plus I couldn't find anybody that would go on a cruise ship with me if I paid the damn thing completely, the airfare and the ship, because you can't really buy a cabin on a ship for one person. I mean, you can, but they charge you twice as much. So having two people go isn't really much more expensive than just having one. So I don't think I'm going to be going on any cruises. But people ask me, well, what do you fear? What do you fear about death? I don't fear being dead, because I believe, and this does not sound appetizing, I know, but I think when I'm dead like a dog. I'm dead like a dog. But what I used to fear, was dying a painful death. I think we all fear that. But since I've talked with the wonderful people at hospice, the nurses and the doctor came a week before last, and since I've talked with them for a long time and told them what my preferences are and so forth, in almost every case, you can die a relatively pain-free death, particularly with the kind of cancer I have. I mean, certain cancers are more painful than others, but I've been assured that with the right medicines at the time, you're not going to suffer in the way that you imagine. So my mind was eased about that. But what I fear, this is what I fear, and this is what happened to my dad. What I fear is kind of losing my mind. My dad had dementia and Parkinson's. I'm not sure I understand the difference between those. But all of his life, he was a very kind man. He never raised his voice to me one time, not once. Now, he should have. There were times that he should have raised his voice to me, like the time I took $800 out of an account without his permission. Should have raised his voice. I mean, it had my name on the account and his, but you don't take $800 without telling other people. I mean, this was 45 years ago. This is certainly nothing I do now. But he never raised his voice to me. Very kind, very wonderful man who died in hospice care. So I've seen how hospice operates right up to the end, and I cannot speak highly enough of them. However, for the last couple of months of my dad's life, he pretty much lost his mind. It's about 3 a.m. I live here in this home. He lived here at that time. And it was about 3 a.m. and he yelled for me, "Dave, come in here." He was real angry. "Come in here, get in here." And I ran. I thought he had some medical issue. I said, "Yeah, Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong?" And he said, "I think you had something to do with killing my father, his father, my grandfather. What? I think you had something to do with killing my father. Well, I was born in 1959. My grandfather, his dad, died in 1957. I never met him. There was a 2-year gap where he was dead and I hadn't even been born yet. So I hope you good folks watching this video will accept me at my word that I had nothing to do with the death of his father, who died of cardiovascular disease. But he said, I think you had something to do with the death of my father. And the one time that I raised my voice to him, I said, are you out of your damn mind? And before the words had even passed my lips, I regretted it. I feel awful about that to this day. Because the truth is, yes, he was out of his damn mind. And I should have just accepted that and expected people who are out of their minds to say things like that. And that's a good lesson for all of you people who are caring for aging parents. And that is, don't pay a lot of attention to what they say. They don't know what they're saying a lot of times. You know, it's a shame that our last memories of people are at their worst moment. My dad accusing me of killing his father. Well, that's a bad memory, but I have 10,000 good memories of him passing baseball with me, or going to work every day and supporting the family, or going bowling with me, or teaching me to play the guitar, or being a good family man and just a wonderful father in every way. And so be tolerant of your elders. Now, they're not perfect, and some of their ideas, including some of my own, are outdated. But when they start saying ridiculous things, just overlook it. So if I come on here on YouTube and start talking about that I'm Elvis Presley, or I was actually the first man on the moon, it wasn't Neil Armstrong, just know that I've reached that point. Now, let's hope it doesn't come to that. I hope it wasn't. I'm told that the type of cancer I have now, of course it spreads, I know, but the type of cancer I have now doesn't usually result in severe cognitive impairment the way some other cancers do. So let's hope that holds up. But I fear reaching the point where my mind doesn't work and I start saying hurtful things to people. Like, I have some wonderful friends, wonderful person named David Black, Mike Collins, the family that lives next door, Jonathan Joy. These are Cody Beeman, who was the one who originally suggested that I make a video talking about my condition. These are wonderful people. And I hope I don't reach the point where I'm insulting them because they're not rooting for the correct baseball team or some nonsense like that. Just tune me out. But back to my initial reaction when I found out I was terminally ill. Many of you have heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's the psychologist, the medical doctor, who came up with the 5 stages of grief that many people go through when they find out they're terminally ill. And the stages are, and I don't memorize them, I'm reading these. I'm cheating. The first stage is denial. People say, That's not right. I'm not going to die. Second stage is anger. They accept they're going to die, but they're mad. It's not fair. Very often it isn't fair. Now, I'm old, but, I think I have a very different reaction to knowledge of my impending death if I were 20 years old. Third stage is bargaining, like with the doctor. Well, if I take this treatment or this med or I stop smoking, will that give me some more time? You bargain. Fourth stage is depression, that you just feel hopeless. You're going to die. What's there to live for anymore? Hopeless. And the final stage is acceptance, that you accept you're going to die and you try to make the most of it. Now, for reasons, again, that I'm not sure I understand, I didn't go through any of that. I just went straight to acceptance. I think, as I said, because I never expected to live this long to begin with, and so I was surprised I made it this far. So I just accepted, like everybody, I'm going to have to die. And I'm very fortunate to have hospice care, as you will have, for free when you need it. So don't worry about that anymore. But I remember, here's an important point. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was once asked, should we have the right to die by active euthanasia? In other words, should I be able to tell the hospice team, okay, I'm ready to go. I don't enjoy watching Andy Griffith anymore. Put me to death. The right to die. Now, a few states, you can do that. Either the hospice team will do that, or you can self-administer medicines, solutions that will kill you. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was asked, is she for that? Is she for the right to die? And she said something I thought was very profound. She said, yes, I'm for the right to die, but I'm very concerned that the right to die will very soon become the duty to die. The duty to die. That your family, waiting for an inheritance, will try to hurry you along a little bit. Or they're tired of taking care of you. Or you're draining the bank account, paying for all your utility bills or something like that. So that's an interesting concept, the right to die versus the duty to die. I don't think anybody would be in favor of that. But I'd like to close by repeating what I said a little while ago, to be patient, be tolerant of people who are old. They don't think as clearly as you do. Probably they never did. And just remember that very soon, far sooner than you will ever imagine, you too will be old.